Naomi Leunig back to speak to us. And as I said earlier, Naomi's with us here at Lifesaving Victoria, and she's an assessment services officer. And this presentation is on the post-emergency response. So thank you again, Naomi.
Before I jump into the presentation, following from Dylan's presentation, I just wanted to say from all of the assessments that I've been doing when I've been going out to different facilities, every facility seems to have a different DFib. And when you do training with a DFib, you often use a training unit. So just make sure that your staff know how to open your DFib case, you know, where the pads are, and if you need to connect new ones, how to connect them, etc. So I'm sure you know your staff do know that, but I just thought something to mention. So just talking about managing post-evacuation activities following the initial response. Making sure that you're notifying the senior leadership team. They may be present at the time of the incident, but they may not be. They may be off-site, they may be away. You know, you might need to call them off leave and advise them. You need to check in with staff. Everyone processes and recovers from incidents differently. Make sure that, you know, you touch base, and don't do it just once. Make sure you continue to touch base. They might be okay, and then they might not be okay. Review the area. Can the facility be reopened, or does it need to be isolated and, you know, investigated? As Dylan was talking about, attend a debrief with emergency services, if applicable, if they have attended on site. Sometimes, you know, the fireys might stick around and do a debrief with you, or they might return later. Complete incident reports and witness statements, if applicable, if you have any witnesses, and determine if the incident needs to be placed under legal professional privilege. So it protects confidential communications and confidential documents between the lawyer and a client, made for the dominant purpose of the lawyer providing legal advice or professional legal services to the client, or used for in current or anticipated litigation. So really important. There are different types of debriefs that can occur. So the owner or operator of an aquatic facility should choose one of these three types of post-incident debrief methods that can be used to promote post-evac learning. They may be held at different times, for example, at the end of the shift, or following the end of the response, after the transition from the response to the recovery, or throughout the recovery activity, such as, you know, 3 months later. The different types of a debrief, you've got the hot or immediate post-event debrief, which is held immediately after the incident or the shift, and it allows for a rapid cool-off for a variety of issues and concerns. It should address the key health issues and safety issues, and it provides an opportunity to thank staff and give them some positive feedback, and that, you know, warm fuzzies. May be facilitated by a number of people within the organisation, doesn't have to be just one, and a number of hot debriefs may be held within an organisation simultaneously. So you might have, you know, different groups. You might have, you know, people from aquatics, you might have people from, you know, the lifeguard team, etc. Then there's the internal organisation debrief. It should be held within 4 weeks of the incident, and if the incident continues to be managed over medium to long term, it may be necessary to hold regular debriefs at key milestones or points throughout. It should involve the same key players within the organisation that were involved in the response in the incident, and should address the organisational issues, not personal or psychological issues at this time. It should look for strengths and weaknesses, as well as ideas for learnings into the future. Provide an opportunity again to thank staff and give them positive feedback, and it may be facilitated again by a range of different people. And then you've got the multi-agency debrief. It should be held within 6 weeks of an incident. And again, you know, if it's being conducted over a period of time, medium to long term, it might be necessary, you know, again, to hold numerous ones. It should focus on the effectiveness of interagency coordination. It should address multiple agency organisational issues, again, not personal or psychological. Look for strengths and weaknesses and ideas for future learnings again. Again, providing that positive feedback. It may be facilitated by organisations like Vic Police, local authority and fire services, and it may form part of a tiered debriefing process with local government, you know, that have been affected by the emergency with the facility manager. It might be followed by local governments in the region contributing to a multi-agency emergency management group, or followed by emergency management representative contributing to the debrief of government agencies at the state or territory level. So GSPO in Section 8 says that following a debrief, the owner or operator of an aquatic facility should develop a post-evacuation or incident debrief report. And depending on the size and nature of the emergency, this may be a simple one-page report or it might be a really complex document. At a minimum, it should cover the summary of the sequence of events that occurred, identifying the individuals that were involved, describing the actions of the staff, providing an accurate timeline, demonstrating where the response was effective and where it wasn't, establishing why this was the case at a corporate level objectively, recommending ways to improve for future responses, resisting critique of individual actions because it's not a blame game, and just looking out for each other. So some considerations to look for in the investigation: the who, what, where, when, how and why. Investigation should be conducted following an evacuation and completed either by the Emergency Planning Committee or independently. It can be done by an external organisation. It's important that any investigation occurs as soon as possible. The less time between an incident and investigation, the more accurate the information is that can be obtained. And when incidents are involving an injury or illness, an early investigation is really essential. The main aim of an investigation is to prevent similar incidents from occurring, identifying new hazards and identifying and choosing suitable controls. And then following the investigation, the Emergency Planning Committee should review the incident and modify the emergency management plan accordingly. And this is where it comes back into the requirement for that training and ensuring that staff are trained on any changes and updates that have been made. And finally, investigations can involve an incident overview, analysis and improvement opportunities for risk management and assessment, safe work procedures, looking at supervision plans, looking at the emergency management plan, reviewing staff inductions and staff qualifications, looking at in-service training records, reviewing the incident report forms and the debrief agendas and minutes. So it's really important that you keep all your records and you keep all your documentation and you have it filed away for access. Records are used by facilities to document trends and identify reoccurring problems, and it may cause a change for policy and procedure or plans. But importantly, the authorities investigate serious accidents and written details are often carefully examined. So records are referred to and can be used in evidence in inquests and court cases, and often a considerable time after the incident, which is where it's important that you file it away and it's available. And data that should be kept includes items that come under facility operation and maintenance, items listed there, facility use, incident and accident reports, and employee items. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Naomi, and thank you for both of your presentations this morning. I might just add a point there is that Lifesaving Victoria do offer critical incident reviews as a service. It's important to know that our review is not not aimed at attributing any blame or fault to any party involved in a given incident. Instead, the intention is to better understand what happened and why, to establish what measures can be taken to reduce the likelihood or consequence of the same thing happening in future. And for facilities that have gone through that process with us, it is a process of also confirming their own internal investigation, and we're very happy to assist in those circumstances.